So, okay, thank you, Frank. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Welcome to the first ever COTS friends and alumni, which is like a family town hall meeting. So let me see if I can't share my presentation and we'll get this show on the road. So here we are, and start that. And hopefully everyone can see the presentation in the right mode. If it's not, hopefully somebody will let me know.
Looks good.
Okay, good. Well, whoops, one more click. There we go. Whoop. Welcome. As I said, my name's Tim England. I'm the Dean of the College of the Sciences. I actually came to Central way back in 1998, fresh out of grad school, and I started as a math professor here. And I've stuck around ever since because I love Central and I'm proud to be part of this place. And so one of the things I'd like to do today is just share some of that pride with you all. Before I start, I wanted to address a couple of questions you might be asking right off the top, and that's, the obvious one. Why are we meeting? We always want to start with that at any meeting. What's the deal with starting town halls now? Well, one, the obvious is that it's time. We really should be doing this, reaching out to you guys and letting you reach back out to us, letting you know what we're doing and you letting us know in reverse. It's time for that. The other thing, though, is that if you've paid attention to the news or read a paper or really just been aware in any ways, you've probably heard that universities across the country are having a hard time in the pandemic. And you might have wondered about what that means for Central or what it means for the department you graduated from. So I just wanted to take a little time and get in front of you and tell you a little bit about the college, the situation that we're finding ourselves in right now, and then at least my best guess at what I think the future is going to hold for us. You may have questions along the way, and that's great if you do. There's a Q&A function on the webinar, and if you have a question, just feel free to type that in and I'll get to them all at the end. This will last about 30, maybe less minutes, and then we'll have the town hall back and forth part of it, and go from there. So please don't be shy. So what is the College of the Sciences? We could start with that. COTS, College of the Sciences. COTS is what we refer to it. Well, I got to say, when I was an undergraduate, I'm not even sure I realized that universities were chopped up into smaller colleges, but that's what we do here at Central. We're the College of the Sciences. There's the College of Arts and Humanities, College of Education and Professional Studies, and the College of Business. We're the most complex of the four colleges, though. We have 13 departments and 11 programs. We have everything from archaeology to zoology and public policy to policing. So we're probably about 38% of the university, to be honest. But colleges aren't departments, they're people, they're faculty, staff, and students. So who are our people? Well, I'm happy to say that we've got award-winning faculty and we've got leaders on the national and international stage. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm super proud, and I saw a math department alumnus in the list there. The Mathematical Association of America, they're really the big professional organization for mathematicians across the country, math faculty. Every year give an award called the Alder Award to the top young mathematics professors in the country. We're one of only 2 universities in the entire nation that have multiple award-winning faculty here. Dominic Clevey and Brandy Weigers have both won the award. So I'm pretty proud of that. We also have Nick Zentner, and maybe you came here because you know about Nick. He's got his Northwest Emmy nominated show called Nick on the Rocks. You might have seen it on YouTube or caught it on KCTS. Kind of a cool thing is that during this whole pandemic, when he couldn't go out and film in the field, he started filming in his own backyard with just one camera. He's produced more than 85 live stream lectures, and you can catch him on YouTube. When they were live streamed, each one had more than 1,000 views. Now that they're static, if you check, they have more than 10,000 views each. So he's got quite a following for these. At KCTS, they told us that he actually has a larger market share than the Seattle Sounders do over in Seattle. So that's saying something. So leaders on the national and international stage. We've got program directors at the NSF. This is a really big deal because the program directors are the people who decide who gets what grants, or at least they have influence on that. So that's been nice. We have the executive director for the National Association of Geoscience Teachers. If you know much about Central, you know that our history with, we were originally the normal school in the state. We have a long history of preparing teachers, and I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, but having the director for the National Association is again another nice thing. We've got editors-in-chiefs of prestigious academic journals. And of course, we have the Pacific Northwest Geodetic Array that we call PANGA. PANGA provides real-time monitoring of GPS sensors all over the Western US, all the way from British Columbia down to Baja, hundreds of these. And they're for early detection of earthquakes and the warning systems that go along behind. So we're processing data that they're using to save lives down all the way from LA up through Bellingham. And it all comes through Discovery Hall here on campus before the alerts get sent out to the folk. So that's our faculty. And that's some of the high profile research that we're doing. But our bread and butter, as you probably know, is teaching. Our passion, our real passion is changing lives through education. We really strive to provide a transformative experience for our students. So how do we do that? Well, it might be in the classroom that we do it. This is Dr. Snowden teaching in her physics class. We might do it out in the field. I don't know whose class this is, but I do see, if you can see my mouse, there's a dog that got to come to class that day. So that's a lucky dog. We do it in the computer labs. This is Dr. Donald Devendra, chair of the computer science department, working with students in a computer lab. During office hours, this is Dr. Marty Falshore, working with a student, psychology professor. You know, we really do pride ourselves on being a place where students can say, the professor knows my name. It might be preparing students to present at conference. This is Source, a conference here on campus. This is Dr. Renteria Valencia working with a sociology student and an anthropology student on their presentation, or it might be preparing students to go off and present at other conferences around the nation. This is a chemistry student that worked with Dr. Timothy Bang. And I have really no idea what he's presenting there, but I can recognize the symbols, and so we know that it must be chemistry. That's our passion. That's what we do, working with the students. Of course, if you received the email invitation to this town hall, you're probably on a mailing list somewhere. And so you've probably received the many emails telling you about the awards we've won for diversity or sustainability or our nationally top ranked programs. One of the ones I could feature, there are really too many to fit. I contacted public affairs to get a list. I thought I would put it all on one slide, and you know, fat chance of that. There were just far too many. So I thought I'd just pick one that we won 6 of the last 7 years for the Higher Education Excellence and Diversity Award. I'm not sure what happened in 2016, but we probably just forgot to apply that year or something, who knows. But this is, again, there is this reputation, I think, that Central might have of being the cowboy college. I've heard it referred to that way from students I, I don't think the data prove that to be true. We're one of the most welcoming, most diverse campuses in the state. So that's what we've done. Those are some of the great things about the college. What's going on now? Well, actually, when I was preparing this slide the other day, I had a different graphic in here. I want to just go on a quick tangent, do a little humble brag. Just yesterday, I was lucky enough to get to call the university outstanding alumnus. He's for 2021. He's actually a geography graduate, and now he's a professor back in Michigan. And I said something like, well, geography's been good to you, I suppose. And he said, well, without geography, you are nowhere. And I don't know, I just thought this would be fitting to insert into the presentation here. When I was doing the research or the Google search, just find this graphic, it turns out that this is actually a Jimmy Buffett quote. So from Jimmy Buffett to our alumnus, to me, to you all. So we can thank Jimmy for this. Anyway, where are we now? Well, it's no surprise. COVID's been hard on universities across the nation. What we've seen is that on average, we've been looking at a 14% revenue drop. That's a major challenge for lots of small colleges. I think that when this is over, we are going to see far fewer colleges and universities than we had going in. Central's not nearly that bad. We've actually done pretty good considering everything, but our enrollments are down about 6% this year. And that's going to be a long-term problem because the students that are freshmen this year will be sophomores next year. So that dip will be in the sophomore class, and then in the junior class, and then in the senior class. And what preliminary data are telling us is that we're probably going to be looking at another dip next year. I think it's still a little too early to tell because I think a lot of people are still in wait and see mode. But the projection is we'll be down about 250 freshmen for the fall 2021 class. We're seeing the biggest problem really in the laboratory and field sciences. You can guess why if you think about it. Lab work is really best done in a lab, and if you can't be on campus, you can't really do that. We've done our best to work around that. We've produced all of these online laboratory experiments. We've actually mailed microscopes out to students. They mail them back when they're done. We've had these little disposable microscopes for students doing stream ecology research. We're doing our best, but it's difficult, and so students are generally going elsewhere. Field sciences are hard too. It's hard to do a field trip when, one, the students aren't here, and if they are here, we can't put them in a van together and have them drive off to a place to look at rocks or streams. So they've taken the brunt, and to be honest, the future doesn't really look great for these fields either. STEM is going to take a hit for quite a while. The problem is, well, it's a deep problem, and what we're seeing is the high schools. Math is a barrier for a lot of students trying to pursue a STEM career, and with students being taught remote, having to learn online, not being in the schools, they're maybe not getting the math content that they typically should be getting, and so we're going to see, we expect, a lot more students, or at least a higher percentage of students coming in needing developmental coursework before they can qualify for college level mathematics. And we expect that, if they're looking at 6 years to a chemistry degree or 4 years to a non-STEM field, then that choice becomes pretty easy for them to make. And so this could be a long-term problem. Again, we're working on solving some of this. And again, I'll hit on this in a bit, but these are some of the challenges that we're facing going forward. And of course, the budget. The budget is going to be a problem. Last spring, the state told us to prepare for a 15% allocation cut from them. That hasn't quite materialized, but we're not sure what it's going to be. What we do know is that dorms and dining have taken a major hit. We don't have students paying, the equivalent of rent in the dorms. We don't have students paying for food in the dining halls. Dorm and dining staff have been laid off, or and we don't know when they're going to come back. It doesn't seem like we're in danger of defaulting on bond payments yet, but these are our challenges, and these are anchors. So, are we facing a few headwinds trying to move forward? Well, yeah, we've got a few challenges, just like this guy facing the headwind. But you know what? If there's one thing that you learned living in Ellensburg, you know how to deal with wind. Maybe you've forgotten or blocked it out since you left Ellensburg, but the wind still blows here. The trees are all still slanted one way. So how are we going to get through it? And this is actually the exciting time, is that challenging times are going to require bold and new ways of thinking. I don't think it's gotten enough attention, because it certainly hasn't been without bumps. It is absolutely not perfect, but I don't think that this fact gets enough recognition. And that's that faculty and students are adapting to a really wholesale shift in how content is being delivered. If you think about it, even the way we were teaching this time last year isn't completely dissimilar to the way our parents, or maybe even our grandparents, learned. One person in front of a lecture hall lecturing, students sitting in the desks, face to face, interacting maybe one-on-one in office hours, but it was really the sort of a continuation. Most people teach the way they were taught, and so things didn't change that much. But in the span of just a few short weeks last March, everything got turned on its head. And we went from doing things face-to-face to almost entirely online. It might be one of the biggest shifts, well, it'll certainly be the biggest shift in our lifetime. And we did it remotely, not being able to talk to each other in the middle of a pandemic when nobody knew if they could leave their house. And again, in a very short time period. It's been quite impressive. Now, of course, like I say, it wasn't without bumps, but it's going to change the way education is delivered going forward forever. We will absolutely have a new normal when the pandemic ends. If it ends, I think it'll end. So what is this new normal? Well, I mean, I have to admit, like I said, parts of this are never going to go back to the way they were, because some parts of it are better than they ever were before. Just this morning, I signed a contract with a human rights lawyer from Boston to come in and talk to one of our sociology classes. That couldn't happen. We're able to bring in internationally acclaimed guest speakers right into our classroom and we pay for an hour of their time instead of flying them from Boston here, putting them up, having them come in. We never could have done that before, but now we can. It's a whole new reality. It's a whole set of experiences we can expose our students to. Conferences that I showed you the pictures of just before, and competitions, math competitions, building competitions, whatever, are online now. So we don't have to send students away and pay travel costs. We can do it from right here. So although there's always going to be a temptation when things get difficult to shrink and just circle the wagons and protect what we have, the truth is that we have this opportunity to have a wider influence than we've ever had before. There are a lot of examples I could give you for that, tons and tons of them. Could be talking about community policing, or the continuing work that we're doing up on I-90, it's Snoqualmie Pass for that expansion project. But one of the ones I really want to highlight on, or I guess two of the ones I want to highlight, are what we're doing to address the STEM shortage throughout the state and throughout the entire region. So there's the problem. The problem is we know the STEM pipeline is constricted, and it's going to become more constricted in the future, not just because of COVID, but because of the changes in demographics that we know are coming. So what do? Well, we know this. We know that STEM graduates are made. They don't just appear. We can't just throw money at the university and for Olympia to throw money at the university and say, give us more STEM graduates. And we have to start early. And all the way back to kindergarten, really. So one of the programs that we've adapted here and adopted here is called the STEM Teach program. It's actually a proven model that we adapted from something happening at the University of Texas, but it's not really nationally implemented yet. It's a cutting edge math and high school science and math teacher preparation program that we're using. It is resource intensive. So whereas back in the old days, if any of you were ed majors, I know I was twice. I had a lot of majors when I was an undergraduate. Twice I was an ed major. And there we would do our student teaching at the end of our senior year. Well, nowadays we get them in the classroom, out in the middle or high school classrooms from the time they're freshmen here, out learning how to be a teacher, observing. We're developing relationships. We're developing partnerships with all the schools in the region. There are a lot of staff hours required to do it this way, but yeah, and it is expensive. We actually were able to get it off the ground with a $3.5 million grant that we got from the Washington State Opportunity Scholarship. Well, that grant we're running out of money on it, but it's working. That's the most important thing. It's working. The number of graduates from the program are up about 50% from what we were before we implemented this program. And if the program works the way it's supposed to, and we don't have enough data to say whether it'll happen here, but it should happen, that not only are we producing more graduates into the field, but they're staying longer. The retention as teachers is increasing. It's a big deal. And we've expanded it over to the west side. So that's great because we know that there's a need in the Seattle region as well. So that's one of the opportunities where we're trying to impact the state by producing more teachers. We get better prepared teachers to teach STEM classes at kindergarten all the way on up. Students will get better lessons. They'll be more enthused. They'll be more likely to come to the university wanting to study a STEM field. But we're also looking beyond that and providing support for the teachers. One of the other big projects we have going is we're working on the creation of the Center for Excellence in Science and Math Education, CESME. We actually had a CESME before. It's such a great name. We're repurposing the name. But this new center that we'll be creating, it's going to have a number of different facets to it. One of which is an outreach program that's going to have an emphasis on reaching into rural and racially underrepresented communities. And so in addition to making the STEM fields cooler for the students, because we'll be presenting in areas that normally wouldn't have people presenting, hopefully the parents will be there as well. And we should, just as a byproduct, get a more scientifically literate society out of this. So just pushing our science out. I mean, we've seen people like Bill Nye and on down doing this, and we're going to do it too. We've also got a master's degree program worked into CESME for a STEM leadership master's degree. This will be providing practicing teachers, so people already out there with the skills to be STEM advocates, STEM mentors in their home schools when they go back. Also, it creates a network for STEM teachers. We know that if you go up to Tenasket or OMAC, people up there generally tend to feel like they're on an island. because who do they talk to? So this is a network of practicing teachers all the way from preschool on up through higher education to talk about best practices and really come together. And then finally, an equipment loan program. Doing quality STEM presentations is pretty, again, resource intensive. You need stuff, you need manipulatives. And not a lot of small schools can afford that. But if we have it, we can loan it out and they can use it. We can develop lesson plans for it, and they can deliver quality STEM experiences in their fields. So the STEM Teach and the SESME are our number one fundraising priorities. We really feel like they can change the future of Washington, the trajectory that we're on. But again, as I've said for a couple of times now, they're expensive. We're looking at about $14 million over 5 years just to get these two going. Well, you might be saying, that's great for STEM, but not everybody on this call is a STEM graduate or related to a STEM field. What are we doing for non-STEM majors? Well, one of the things we'd like to do is provide study abroad or study away opportunities for all of our students that want to do it. We have students, well, in normal times, we have students studying all over the world, in Mexico or Japan or Spain or Ecuador, or UK, the list goes on and on and on and on. And we want to be able to provide these experiences for every CWU student that wants to, because we know that leaving your home little bubble is a transformative experience. We know that. I'm sure you know it too. But of course, it's expensive for some students. It's expensive, but well worth it. So we're fundraising around that as well to provide the funding for students to be able to go away. One of these in particular I want to highlight is our number 2 funding priority, and that's the Bhutan International Field School. In 2019, CWU, I was lucky enough to be the one to go. We signed a memorandum of understanding with the tiny Himalayan country of Bhutan and their Institute of Conservation and Environmental Research. This is the equivalent of what in the States would be the Secretary of the Interior. So it was quite an honor to be there and sign this memorandum of understanding. Bhutan is the world's only carbon negative country. And because of what they've done there to preserve their natural resources, they're really a conservationist dream. And this relationship will provide CWU faculty and students an unprecedented access, because we're the only university that has this arrangement, the only one, into protected areas of Bhutan and to the data that's already been collected by the Institute's employees. This is a group of the people who went over. This individual right here, his name is Kunzang Dorji. He's the director of the Nature Center, which serves as our research base. And he's currently completing a master's thesis in primate behavior here at CWU, and with Lori Sheeran, who's right here in the picture. It was really Lori's, move my cursor so you can see her. It was really Lori's hard work that secured this relationship. She and Kunzang worked together, and here we are. This is the nature, the field school where we're doing the study. Up here is where the classes are for the field school. This is where the students stay. And then down here is where the faculty and staff, the staff stay for it. At the field school, students will learn how to collect behavioral data from primates. They learn field techniques to document biodiversity, plants, birds, mammals, freshwater invertebrates, butterflies, you name it, they have it in Bhutan, and it's generally well preserved. They can work with scientists from around the world and with diverse cultural backgrounds. One of the things that I think I find as a mathematician, I guess, I don't know why, really interesting is Bhutan is just now opening up to the outside world. And now they've got this younger generation coming of age with the internet. And so how do they protect all of the gains they've made in their conservation when the younger generation now know what the rest of the world has? So how do we ensure that Bhutan remains the Shangri-La that it is? Well, we need to create educational outreach activities, or at least be not create, but at least be involved in their creation, because we have expertise in that. So this is an amazing opportunity that Lori and Kunzang have been able to secure for our students, unlike any other university can provide, but it's expensive. It's about $7,000 for a student to enroll, travel, and stay at the summer field school. If we were to take a student from the beginning of a year all the way through, so we covered their tuition, everything for their mentor on up, we're looking about $27,000 for a student to be there for, well, to prepare to be there and then be there for a year. Our goal is actually a little smaller than that, but if we could come up with a $500,000 endowment for this, we have 3 students who could travel there every summer in perpetuity. So these are just some of the activities there. So we spend our time thinking about that. But of course, everyone's on this call. We need you too. We need your expertise, not just in terms of these, but we've got alumni coming back to share your story. We may be reaching out to you soon to include your story in a newsletter. We'd like to come up with a COTS newsletter every month or every quarter to talk about what successful alumni are doing. You could come in and be a classroom speaker. We've got one alum who's a VP at JP Chase Morgan, and he's come back into our actuarial science classrooms and is talking to students about his experience there, and came in and talked to the economics club and the actuarial science club about what it's like to be a VP at a major global corporation. Mentorship. Maybe you don't want to come in and talk to a whole class, but maybe you have some expertise you can give one student at a time. We're more than happy to have you in to talk about that. Career advice. If you could talk about what one does with whatever you graduated in, that would be an amazing opportunity for our students. Help us open doors for our graduates. I've always heard that the best thing about an Ivy League education isn't the education, but the network that comes with an Ivy League education. If you graduate from Harvard, you've got alumni opening career doors for you all around the world in the top companies. Well, we'd like the same thing. You graduate from Central and you have Central graduates helping to place you or make us at least aware of career opportunities. And of course, if you can give, we certainly do appreciate anything that you can do. So how to become involved? Well, just get in touch with us. My name's Tim England. I said that already. My email is super easy to remember, Tim England. James Branch is our College of the Sciences Director of Development. His email is equally easy to remember, james.branch@cwu.edu. Let us know. I talked about some of the outstanding things that are going on because I only wanted to make this last an hour. Could have talked about the actuarial science program with our how that's grown, our internationally famous geology graduate program, our data science degree that we're bringing online. We're starting a new scholarship for women in computer science. We're starting a new program in social science research tools to give social scientists more data analytics skills. I could go on all day and talk about the great things that are happening, but apparently I've been talking according to the timer now for 34 minutes. And so I would like to take the rest of the time and answer any questions you guys have. So what didn't I hit? What else can I answer? I'll shut this down and be happy to talk to you. So what can I do? Any questions you have whatsoever, if you want to put them in the Q&A, chat box. I think Danica sees that. I'm not sure how to see that myself.
You have one question in there, Tim. It says there's a perceived value issue without the traditional university hands-on experience. Has there been a discussion about lowering the cost to students or families for an online education? This comment is the potential students may be putting off their education until they can get a more traditional education.
Yes, there has been quite a bit of discussion around that. I'm going to be frank though about it, and that's that we still consider Central Washington to be at a really competitive price point. Oh, now I just found the Q&A box, but really competitive price point compared to a number of the other, University of Washington, Washington State that are delivering the same thing. I think that this environment points out more now than ever what a good value we are. But I do sympathize with people who are waiting to come back face to face. I don't blame you or them in the least. Interestingly enough, when this all happened last spring, the prediction was that community colleges would be busting at the seams and that they would reap the benefits of this. And in fact, they haven't at all. They've taken the biggest enrollment hit of far more than the four-year regionals like we are, or the big research institutions. So we don't really understand that very well, to be honest. So let's see. Blah asked, how are you making learning accessible to students not coming to Ellensburg? Well, mostly it's been by putting the content online. We'll stay mostly online. We're in winter quarter now. We'll stay mostly online spring quarter and summer quarter. So we're doing our best to do that. Things that require a little bit more hands-on, then we're, like I mentioned, we're doing our best to ship out. They make these home chemistry kits that we've bought from companies and shipped out to the students. We've sent them microscopes. We've created field trips of places you can go and visit on your own if you happen to have a car, or someone in your pod has a car. But we're doing our best to do that. Let's see, Jason says, I expected most of the students that deferred enrolling in college 2021 would pile on next year. Why is it expected next year will be subsequently down as well? This is really coming from a prediction on what we're seeing with applications so far. I expected the same thing, Jason. But if I'm not completely convinced that students are behaving in a predictable, rational way. You use past behavior to predict future behavior generally, but we've never had a situation like this, so our assumptions are completely different. I'm still holding out for that bump next year. I really am, but what we've seen in terms of applications is just down for next year. The flip side is we're seeing the number of applications or students contracting to come in and live in the dorms going up. And so we've got a record number for this time in last year of housing contracts. So I think there's conflicting data, but this is what we're getting from our enrollment specialists here on campus. And I think they're probably getting that from national conversations. Pete asks, has there been any thought about doing more webinars like this with featuring department heads and or professors to discuss interesting or unique programs? Yes, and that's a great idea, Pete. And I think that now is maybe this is the first one, and we'll see more of these going forward. But I think absolutely that every opportunity for this, because I know, I saw Jenny was on here earlier, Jenny DeShane. She could do a far better job of talking about STEM Teach than I can. And Lori Sheeran is here and she could do a better job talking about Bhutan. So I think it's a great thing. Lori did talk about Bhutan at a Science on Tap presentation she did. It's something that if we were face to face, we'd be doing down at the Iron Horse Brew Pub. I don't know if that mailing invitation is going out to everyone where we like to do these things. In fact, I saw Eric Foss on here and he gave a presentation about our craft brewing program, appropriately enough, at the Science on Tap. So if those invitations aren't going out to everyone, please let us know. We'll be happy to get you on that list right away. But overall, yes, I think we should be talking about this. Dell Tech says something, I don't know what language that's in, so I can't answer that. Alex, nice to see you again, Alex, or at least see your name again. What's the best way for alumni to support students who want to participate in study abroad, international research, etc.? Once that becomes a possibility again. Well, I think there are lots of ways that could happen. I think it could happen from the very basic level of volunteering to come in and talk to a class that might be recruiting students to go study abroad, so that you could tell about your experience and why it was transformative for you. I actually studied a semester abroad in Budapest and then finished my dissertation in Germany. And that was an amazing thing for me. So I could talk about that all day long to recruit people and into that, share those experiences, all the way from, just sharing your expertise up to contributing to scholarship funds that we help support students to go abroad on. Isaac asks, do you have a mailing list where we can provide our connection to Central? And what do we do so that you can contact us when you need us? James, would you like to answer this one? James is our development officer, and development works with University Advancement, which has alumni relationship in it. And so they have a whole office set up for this, and James can hopefully answer this some more.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. It's a great question. One of the things that's going to be happening very soon, we anticipate, is an alumni relations director embedded or being a part of the College of the Sciences, who will help us in this whole process. In the interim, however, if you have an interest or a desire to participate in that way, the University Advancement in relationship with the Alumni Association leadership, we provide an opportunity to be able to connect and engage with you and help to determine, for example, if it's mentoring or something like that you want to be involved in, just exactly how to get that set up and how to get you connected. So if you'd like to talk further about it, or you would like more information, feel free to reach out to me. You can call me or you can email me, and I can provide you with more information about it.
Yeah, thank you, James. And I think then that just skipping over one question and going down to Dell Tech question, how could we sign up to provide assistance to COTS as alumni, including giving money to the endowment? Well, we are happy to get that question any day of the week. So James is really the point person for that, or I am, and I'm happy to take it. So please just either call or send an email or flag me, however you want to do it. My email is tim.england or timothy.england. I have a couple email addresses. You can also, I think it's as simple as COTS, COTS at cwu.edu. If you contact us some way, anyway, we will be in touch. I promise you that. And of course, James, as well. And his phone number, if you happen to have a pen, it's his phone number is 509-963-2725. And I assume that rings through to your cell phone, James?
It does. Let me give you my cell phone. It's 425-351-1100. So feel free to reach out, call me on my cell directly, or text me.
Thank you, James. Okay, so going back to Jason's question, in terms of financial contributions to CWU, we have traditionally focused on individual scholarship funds. In terms of what's best for CWU, given the current situation, should alumni consider redirecting their contributions to other general funds? Boy, that's a complicated, it's a simple question, but a complicated answer. You know, my primary answer is give where your heart or your passion tells you to give. Whatever it is you're passionate about, if you can contribute to that, we are grateful, and it will serve the students. The scholarship funds are actually absolutely useful. If you contribute to one of those, you're changing a student's life. Unquestionably, you're changing a student's life. If you decide that you wanted to contribute to a study abroad program, we can absolutely set you up on that. But I think it would involve a conversation to figure out really what gives you joy. How can you give in a way that nourishes your own soul to do? So, and we're happy to do that. But really, literally, I appreciate the question so much, Jason. It's very generous. But wherever your passions or interests lead you, that's where we'll meet you. And I'm sorry that's not a more direct answer to a pretty direct question, but there we go. Donna asks, or says, I live in Portland area and was an adjunct in science teacher prep programs at a private university that has since closed. I'm sorry to hear that. Is there any way to be of service to the CWU science education program that you mentioned? I'm not aware of a Southwest Washington CWU satellite program. I think the furthest south any of our satellite programs are in Des Moines, which is a little bit south of Tacoma. I think you know, if the geography chair were here, he would tell me that I need to study. He would say geography is where it's at, man. That's what he says to me all the time. But we are thinking about maybe even expanding this down onto joint base Lewis McCord. Very preliminary, very preliminary discussions around that. But Jenny DeShane is on this call. And if you were to go to the Science and Math Education Department webpage, you could certainly get Jenny's contact information. She's the chair of the department and the director for the Teach STEM program. And I'd like to connect you two up and you could have a conversation. If you can't find that information from the webpage though, again, please feel free to reach out to me or James or COTS at cwu.edu, and we will make that connection for you. And we are more than happy to figure out a way that we can have your assistance. And you know, and maybe it's as simple as a guest lecture, or maybe it's coming in and talking to prospective teachers about the rewards of being a teacher. So we can work on things. So we're happy to do it. Just let us know. Justin says, no question from me, but I want to really say, appreciate the newsletter and the town hall session. I really appreciate seeing everything great taking place at COTS. Echo what everyone has said and here to help in any way I can. Thank you so much, Justin. I really do appreciate that. You know, God bless me. I heard God help me, whatever. I love Central. I really do. I've stayed here since 1998. I have no intention of going anywhere else. This is an amazing place. A couple of years ago, we said sort of embarrassingly that we were one of the best kept secrets in the region. And I think that that is unfortunate, not the part that we're the best, but that we're a secret. And the more we can get the word out about what we're doing, the better, because you know, we're not the UW, but we don't pretend to be the UW. Their mission is different than our mission. We're here to serve the community, and I think we do a really good job at that. So Jenny has provided her email address in the Q&A box. So Donna, hopefully you'll catch that.
Tim, you have a couple of questions in the chat also.
Okay.
Bill asked, what does enrollment in the center at the centers look like?
Oh, that's a great question. So the centers for right now, what's going on is, well, Lauren is here. So Lauren is our center director for all the centers. So she can actually do a better job of answering this than I can. Lauren, would you like to put that in the chat box, perhaps, the answer to that? Thank you very much. Lauren says sure. So I think you're on the list, Danica says. So hopefully we don't have any of those lists, just the good lists. And let's see, Amy McCoy, who's an advisor here in the college. So Lauren's, give her a minute. Connectivity opportunities are so important, especially in an unpredictable career environment like we have today. Do we have, or have you considered having a specific program exclusively for graduating COTS students? I know geography had a former faculty member keep up a website for geography alumni several years ago, but I am unsure of its status. Boy, that is a fantastic idea, Amy, to do that. No, we hadn't really thought about publishing it on a web page, but I would love to talk to you more about that, and we'll explore that for sure. I think it's a very good idea. I don't think that web page exists any longer. At least talking to the chair, he's never mentioned it. So we'll dig on that. That's a very good idea. Okay, so Lauren has some data for us. We have 8 university center locations. How does 1574 compare to what we've seen traditionally, Lauren? Is there any, is that down or up or static? Clay thinks that Nancy Holquist has the email list. Oh, okay, good. I'll reach out to Nancy. Okay, so they're about 3% down in some location, up 25 in Sammamish. Thank you. Anything else?
Tim, if you may want to just comment, if you would please, on we're at this inflection point in the university now with leadership and a change in leadership. Can you give us some insight on the new president and his vision, his mission, his purpose, and how that's going to impact the college and the university?
Great question, James. So yeah, there's been a tremendous amount of leadership change at the university. Really, I've been dean for only, I think this is my 6th year, and yet I think I'm now more senior than anybody on the presidential cabinet except the president. and one of the most senior deans. Yeah, we've got a new provost. This is her first year. Provost are our chief academic officer for the university. And then we've got a new president starting this summer. Jim Gaudino is retiring and heading off to do what he does. And we've got a new Jim. We're calling it Classic Jim and New Jim, although Classic Jim doesn't know that we're calling him Classic Jim. New Jim Walpart, is coming to us from Northern Iowa State University, who's not, it's a similar institution to Central. He's got roots out here in the Northwest. And so I'm excited to see him come on. He's going to be a mover and shaker. We expect him to get really involved and move the university forward. He seems to have a real passion for serving underserved students. We will, because of demographic shifts, whether we do it intentionally or not, we are going to become a Hispanic serving institution, which means that a certain percentage of our students are Hispanic, hence the name. And we can do this one of two ways. We can either just wait passively for it to happen to us, or we can do it actively and get ready for it and take advantage of the federal funds that will come along with being a Hispanic institution in order to provide scaffolding for all students to succeed. And I see him as being a person that's going to put us in a really good position for moving forward for that part of our mission. He's an academic, which I'm very, very happy about. He came out of an English department, was a professor, and then an associate dean and a dean and a provost, and now he's going to be a president. So he really understands our side of the shop. And I think it's going to be a good thing. Fundraising is going to be a big priority for him. He's coming from a university that probably has a lower donor profile than we have, and yet they've really been killing it on their fundraising, about 5 to 7 times more than we do in a year. So I think he's going to be a great person for us. Lauren, regarding the Hispanic Serving Institution, HSI is, everything's an acronym in academia. HSI status, talk about our $1 million grant with Yakima Valley College and the Escala Professional Development. Absolutely. So Yakima Community College, well, Yakima Valley College, sorry. They took the community part out of their name a long time ago. I'm slow to change. They actually have a really large federal grant, and we've been sending people there to become trained in becoming teachers and addressing what the needs are for a changing student population. So this is an example of how getting ready and going into this status intentionally rather than passively is good for everyone, good for us, good for the students. And again, not just the Hispanic students, but for all students across the university. Lisa says, thank you. Well, Lisa's the secretary in the chemistry department. And so thank you, Lisa, for everything you do. We really do appreciate it. If you're ever a student in the chemistry department, you absolutely know Lisa, and I'm sure she helped you out of a bind at some point. So, anything else? All right, well, we are at 5 o'clock, spot on, and that's what the invitation said. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank you one more time for showing up today. Thank you for your interest and support for COTS. Just knowing that you're out there helps us get through. We're going to be okay at the end of the day. We're going to come out of this unchanged, changed, not unscathed. We're going to be changed, but this is an opportunity to expand our influence and grow. And with support like we're getting from you guys, I'm optimistic. So thank you. Thank you for everything. And with that, I think we can end the recording.